this week's been a bit of a struggle because I gained weight at the beginning of the week. And lots of people have been asking me like how I cope with weight gain and how I stay motivated after gaining weight and being upset about it. So I thought I'd try and record so I can show you a bit of like what goes on in my head after that happens and how I try to stay on track. Because even though I am upset, like I know I do still want to stay on track. I don't want to end up in that yo-yo of like commit 1 week and then gain weight and then freak out and run back to anorexia as a quick fix. So I don't know how good this will be, but I'm gonna try and like talk through what I do and how I try to come round after something like this. I try to keep going firstly, like still stick to my plan even though my head's screaming and I feel like I can't trust food anymore and I can't trust my body. Like I don't want to turn back to it, so I try to just keep sticking to every single thing on my plan. And food kind of takes a bit longer now because like making my breakfast, I do have to psych myself up for it. I have to be like, come on, like you can do it, put the peanut butter on, blah blah blah. Oh, I'm still getting frustrated about it now. But like the important thing is that I still do it. And another thing I try to do is like shut the thoughts down straight away because it multiplies. Like as soon as you get one thought in, like this for example, if I thought, oh, just leave the peanut butter off, then it'd be like, well, you don't really need maple syrup on it, it's already in it. And then it would be, well, why are you even putting maple syrup in it? You like it savoury. Like it tricks you into thinking it's actually your own choice as well. Just totally have a brick wall up to the thoughts. Like do not let a single thought in, like no negotiating, shut them down straight away because they'll spiral. And just opposite actions, like I hold that in my back pocket the whole time. Like all through that breakfast it was just opposite actions. Basically whatever pops into my head as a good idea or whatever feels right, I'm just like, I can't trust my thoughts, like opposite actions, keep going. And then after it, when I feel a bit like guilty or crappy or whatever, I try to just distract myself and not sit ruminating on the thoughts or feelings of guilt. But if I'm really honest, not many distractions work for me when I'm feeling like this. Like I watch a show that I like, but I can't properly concentrate on it. Last night I painted my nails to try and do something nice. I really like watching comedians. They do help sometimes if they're really funny. Mickey Flanagan's always a good one for me. Sometimes they help a bit, but it is quite hard for me to like break out of these, I don't know, moods or like come downs from a weigh-in, anorexia attacks, I don't know what you'd call it. One thing that helps me a lot is to have like expressions up my sleeve, things that are really effective, that are easy to remember. So opposite actions is one thing, like whatever your head is saying, you just go totally against it because it can't be trusted and it's kept you in an illness. So if you follow your tempting thoughts telling you like, oh, come back to me, skinny's a good idea, you're just gonna stay trapped in that cycle. And the other one for me is break the cycle. As long as I'm giving in to my thoughts and beliefs, I'm strengthening them. Every time I act on don't put peanut butter in or don't put maple syrup on, I'm strengthening that thought that I shouldn't be doing that. And I don't want to stay in this like yo-yo cycle of like commit, run back, toe dip, change my mind. So at some point I need to break that cycle, and the point you need to break it is when it's hard, because it's easy to want to recover after you've lost weight or when you're feeling okay and then oats are yummy. But the hard time is when you're feeling guilty or you've gained or you've grown out of clothes or someone's made a comment, whatever, those triggering situations where you want to run back, that's when you need to break the cycle. And then I know that breaking the cycle is going to make me feel like guilty and anxious. So a couple of like sayings that I use here are, it's okay to feel anxious and bad, I don't need a quick fix. Anxiety won't last forever, but anorexia will. If you respond to your anxiety because you don't like it and turn back, you're keeping yourself in the anorexia cycle and you will be anorexic for the rest of your life. My psychologist says to me, anxiety never killed anyone, which is true and it's a good expression, but like I've adapted it a bit because I'm not scared of dying. I don't think the anxiety is going to kill me. I'm scared of gaining weight or I'm scared of getting fat. So I tell myself like anxiety never made me gain weight. I don't know if that's a good adaptation, but like the thing I'm trying to tell myself is just because you're feeling guilty or you're feeling bad doesn't mean the terrible thing you think is going to happen is happening. Like it doesn't mean you're getting fat, it doesn't mean you're going to ruin your life, it doesn't mean you're going to lose control, it just means you're challenging this belief you've got that if you gain weight you then need to cut loads of stuff out of your food. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So if I, every time I gain weight, respond by cutting stuff out of my breakfast or choosing the low fat option, I'm just always going to do that for the rest of my life. Like at what point will that change? At what point will I just suddenly go, oh, I don't need to do that anymore? And this sounds so much like I'm preaching now, but honestly, this is what goes through my head constantly. When I'm feeling bad, I just have these things that I just throw at myself to remind myself and like try to snap myself out of it. And even if I can't see why I need to keep eating, just to ensure that I do. And that's another thing I think, is do something today that your future self will thank you for. If I respond by cutting bits out, it keeps me in the cycle, and so my future self is then still going to be in that cycle. Whereas if I break the cycle, feel crappy now, and do opposite actions to my head, then over time I'll be relearning that. It's almost like I'm feeling bad now so that in the future I don't have to. I found a meme on Pinterest for something similar to this, and it's, of course, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. And I really love that, because I think you get so caught up in the now of the day. Like each day you're just trying to make yourself feel better and look for the quick fix, and I don't want to feel guilty that I've put on weight, so I'll just leave something out of my breakfast. At what point is it just going to change magically? It's not. Like, I know it's not. I know I have to actively change it, because otherwise the days and days go by of me responding to guilt by turning back to anorexia, and those days add up to my whole life. And then each new birthday will come around, each new decade. Like, I'm about to turn 30 this year and I'm still doing it. So if I keep doing it in my 30s, then I'll be turning 40 and I'll still be doing it, and then I'll be turning 50 and I'll still be doing it, and then eventually I'll be gone, and then my whole life will have been an anorexic life. I'm never going to look back on my life and be like, oh, I'm so glad for all the times that I missed peanut butter off my porridge. I'm going to be glad for like relationships, meaningfulness, having friends, going on holiday, like doing cool, fun things, and not spending my days responding to guilt by restricting little bits and bobs. So I think all of those things help me break out of like the now and the looking for a quick fix and an immediate gratification and a quick feel good from anorexia that I know I can get. Like, I know I could make myself feel better this week if I wanted to, but I also know that's just another week of me strengthening the illness. Not only is it not fighting against the illness, it's actually strengthening the illness, and then next week it'll be even harder to break. And honestly, I don't think you always will remember why you're doing it. Sometimes it feels so shit to go against it that you can't believe you're doing it for a good reason. Like, you can't believe anything other than the fact that you feel terrible right now in the minute. You can't even think about 5 years down the line whether your future self will be grateful, because you just feel so guilty now. And in those times, I try and remind myself that, like, I'm not going to want recovery 100% of the time, because if I did, I would just recover. I just know I always wanted it and I'd do it. So there's still going to be times when you feel so guilty going against anorexia and so tempted back to it by the thought of restriction or skinniness or whatever. And sometimes I think you just need to have like trust, go on autopilot, blind faith that you are still doing it for a good reason and there is something better down the line. And even if you're totally clouded and you can't see it now, you just put yourself on autopilot, basically put a block around you, don't even let a single thought in, because you just can't even negotiate. Like I said, one thought turns into 5 thoughts, and before you know it, you're just eating the carrots out of the carrot cake oats. So yeah, sometimes for me it is literally just opposite actions. I don't even know why. I know I want something better than all of this, so just opposite actions to get there. And in a few days my head will come round and I'll see a bit more clearly again, but until then, like, I don't want to let myself down until I get to that point, kind of thing. Break the cycle. It has to be done when it's most hard. Opposite actions. So Brendan actually WhatsApped me this the day after I got weighed. He said, always do the difficult choices in days like this. That's the us choice, that's the life choice. Of course it's hard, but recovery is hard, and these are wee challenges of it. If it was all smooth sailing, you'd be recovered already. It takes a bit longer, I'm afraid, babesy. Got to break the cycle, and on days like today, be brave and challenge and do opposites. Which is so true, and it is so lovely and helpful if someone else knows expressions that are good for you and they can just keep whipping them out with you and keep giving it little like, pow, like back off. I also try to remind myself that like my body needs to relearn and be exposed to foods consistently for like my metabolism to kick back in, for my body signals to regulate. And if I'm eating properly 1 week and then seeing my weight go up and freak out and run back and restrict, then my body doesn't know what's happening, whether the food's coming or going. And my support team are always telling me like, you'll put your body into like survival or starvation mode again. And if you're restricting, it doesn't know that it can trust food again. So then when you eat properly the next week, it will then grab onto it and store fat or like take the food in more. So you have to like push through the weeks where you gain and you feel uncomfortable, even if it's a big gain. I've actually had some massive gains and had to keep pushing through, and autopilot, opposite action eating regardless, because if you don't, your body doesn't know what's happening then, and it's not going to know what to do with food, and your metabolism's never going to sort itself out. Trying so hard to like push through discomfort, keep giving my body what it needs, not restricting little bits and bobs, because every time you do, it's like a two-prong attack. Like, it messes with your body because it's not learning what it can trust with food, and it's not learning to process it properly. And it's also messing with your mind because it's strengthening your beliefs that like, oh, I should have the non-fat milk, or I don't know, whatever. So for like your body and your mind, like, I do think you need to just totally stick to a regular, consistent diet plan. And even if you have a big gain, keep going anyway, because your body will sort it out. Like, give it time, it's going to learn what it's doing, and your mind and your brain are like rewiring and relearning. Like that analogy of your brain being like sledge paths in the snow, like every time you do old anorexia routines, you're just going down the same sledge path. And so if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get anorexia, like you're always going to get that same sledge path. And we need to like be brave and try a new sledge path, and then keep trying it and trying it and trying it. The anxiety is not going to last forever when you're going down this path, but if you're going down this path, anorexia will last forever. I actually talk about this analogy in another vlog. I don't know if I've made much sense with it there, but I'll put the link to the other vlog below. So I'm sorry that this vlog hasn't been a bit more like energetic. One person messaged me and said, sometimes recovery can look like a tampon commercial. Like, all these women are like jumping around having the time of their life, and look how amazing they look and feel, when actually inside they've got like stomach pains and they feel bloated and gross, and yeah, they're on their period. So I'd never want to make it look like recovery is fun and easy, because it's not. And even when I am doing quite well, like I am at the moment, there's still weeks where I get totally like clouded back over again, and I have to just whip out all of my sayings or whatever, try to distract myself, ask other people for help, try to like remember my goal and like connect the dots between where I want to be and what I need to do now to get there. And also, hopefully it shows you that like this has not been an easy journey. I've not coped well with weight gain. It has always been hard, and I've had some really horrible weeks, and I've just had to push through them. And like, to be honest, distractions I try, but quite often it doesn't work that well for me. Sometimes I literally do just need to feel bad or anxious. And I honestly think if you're feeling comfortable in recovery, you're probably not really challenging anything. I think it's only when you're feeling guilty and tempted back and distracted and like your head's screaming at you, I think it's during those times that you are really challenging it. And I think you have to go through them to get to something better on the other side. And that's the break the cycle. Like, it's when it's most hard that you most need to break your cycle. So obviously I don't hope people are feeling bad and guilty, but if you are, then it probably means you're doing something right. So like, good on you, just keep going anyway, opposite actions. And you won't feel like this forever. And then when you don't, like, that's your future self, and it is going to thank you so much for those times that you did push through. If there are some sayings which do help you, like, keep them on you all the time. Like, whip them out at every meal, write them on your mirror, get someone else to say them to you or WhatsApp them to you, whatever. Even if it is total autopilot, just don't give into it. Like, for your body, mind and soul, they need you to take a different action, or you'll always be taking the eating disorder one. So lots of love to everyone, and I will try and hopefully be a bit more upbeat in my next vlog.